Hello and welcome back to the Curious Kid podcast. Olivia is 11 years old and I'm slightly older than that. I can't say that I remember too much about what I was up to when I was Olivia's age. One thing I do remember is something I would do during the hot New York summers when I was a kid. My best friend had a swimming pool in his backyard. I would go swimming there a few times every summer, and sometimes his sister or other friends joined us for a swim. Someone once came up with the idea to circle around the pool, walking really fast and following each other, circling around again and again and again and again. Why would we do this? It's because we thought we could create a whirlpool right there in his swimming pool. Did we ever actually create a whirlpool? I don't think so, even though some friends said they thought it was working. The more friends in the pool, the better whirlpool we thought we could create just by running or swimming around the pool in a circle, all going in the same direction. Even though I doubt we created a whirlpool in a swimming pool, whirlpools do exist, and I can tell you how to create one easily in your home. So stay tuned.
Quadruple mailbag!
Quadruple mailbag! Hi, Curious Kid Podcast. My son Benjamin loves your podcast. We replay many of them like earthquakes, tornadoes, and other weather-related topics. He would like to suggest 2 topics, whirlpool and tsunamis. Thank you, Benjamin age 5 from Weston, Florida. Hi, Jacob and Olivia. It's Avery and his mom, Riley. Can you get curious about whirlpools? I'm curious about how they form and why they pull downwards and why they are spinning. Keep up the great work. Love, Avery from Victoria, British Columbia. Hello, my kids Cece, age 8, and Vinny, age 6, are frequent listeners. Vinny would like to get curious about whirlpools or tidal waves. Thank you and keep up the great work. Vinny, Cece, and Joe from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Jacob and Olivia. I'm Reeve, and I'm from Auckland, New Zealand, and I'm curious about whirlpools, and I love this podcast.
That was awesome! Thanks so much for all the amazing messages. Whether you send us an email, fill out a contact form on our website, or leave us a voicemail, we are so excited to hear from our amazing listeners. We are so excited to get curious about whirlpools this week for Benjamin, Avery, Vinny, Cece, and Reeve. Listeners from around the world who found different ways to reach out to us and tell us what they're curious about.
Alright, let's kick things off with the question of the week.
There is a word used to describe super strong whirlpools that are powerful, violent, and can even suck objects inside. The question of the week is, what is the word, starting with the letter M, as in marvelous, that can be used to describe an insanely strong whirlpool?
Alright, folks, hold on to your snorkels because we are about to pummel you with a bunch of facts about whirlpools. Here we go.
Let's start with the basics. A whirlpool is when water spins really fast, making a swirling hole in the center. It happens when 2 opposing currents meet.
A few things are needed for whirlpools to get started. First, you need moving water. A lot of the time, whirlpools form when 2 different moving streams of water, called currents, meet each other. Imagine 2 rivers crashing together or ocean tides squeezing through a narrow rocky place. When that happens, the water doesn't know which way to go, so it starts spinning instead.
Whirlpools can also form when water rushes over a drop-off, like a sudden hole or a deep spot underwater. Gravity pulls the water downward, and because the water is still moving forward, it begins to swirl. It's like when you pull the plug out of your bathtub. The water near the drain starts spinning faster and faster as it goes down.
Small whirlpools are totally normal and happen all the time. You might even see tiny ones in a creek or pond. They don't have enough power to suck anything big under.
But sometimes whirlpools can get huge. When ocean tides squeeze through narrow spaces, like between 2 islands or through a fjord, which is a deep, narrow sea inlet, the spinning can get super strong. Some of the biggest whirlpools in the world can create strong currents that can tip over small boats if they're not careful.
There are two important forces at work in a whirlpool. First, you have centripetal force. This force pulls the spinning water towards the center, making the spiral.
And you also have gravity, which pulls the water downward if there's a deep spot or drain.
Because of these forces, the water at the center of the whirlpool is usually lower than the edges, creating a funnel or hole shape. The faster the water spins, the deeper and sharper the funnel gets.
Whirlpools don't last forever. They often break apart when the water settles down, like when the tides change, or if there's no more strong current pushing the spin.
Here's something cool. Whirlpools don't just happen on Earth. Giant gas planets like Jupiter and Saturn have massive spinning storms in their atmospheres that look a lot like whirlpools. The famous Great Red Spot on Jupiter is a giant storm that's been spinning for hundreds of years.
Let's talk about some of the most amazing whirlpools found here on Earth. What's the strongest whirlpool?
The strongest whirlpool in the world is Saltstraumen. In Norway, the current can reach 25 miles per hour. The speed of the current depends on a few things, but it is typically strongest around full and new moons.
Then there is the Naruto Whirlpool in Japan. This humongous whirlpool can be up to 60 feet wide.
The biggest whirlpool in the Western Hemisphere can be found in Maine. The name of the whirlpool is Old Sow, and it has the name because it makes grumbling noises, kind of like an angry pig.
There is also a whirlpool that was discovered near Madagascar, and it lasted over a year back in 2011. It is the longest whirlpool ever recorded.
Even though whirlpools might look frightening, kind of like an underwater tornado, they usually aren't dangerous. People didn't know that many years ago, which is why in ancient times, people told terrifying stories about whirlpools.
Like Charybdis in Greek mythology, she was a sea monster who made whirlpools by swallowing huge gulps of water.
Sailors thought she would sink their ships. Even though whirlpools are usually harmless, it makes sense that they might be scary if you didn't know what they were.
Especially if you had an old-timey wooden boat and no life jackets.
But whirlpools are not scary, which is why we're going to tell you how to make one at home. We already mentioned that you would see a whirlpool form just by pulling the drain plug in your bath. Here are the steps for creating another whirlpool in your house. Be sure you do this with a grown-up so you don't make a mess.
First, fill a clear plastic bottle with water. Then, add a little glitter or tiny beads for some extra sparkle. Put the cap on tight. Turn the bottle upside down and swirl it around in a circle. You should be able to observe a mini whirlpool form right there in your water bottle. Then, give your glitter whirlpool an awesome name like Olivia Swirly Whirly.
For the record, you don't need to name your whirlpool to make the experiment work. I think Olivia just added that for a personal touch.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
I wonder what Noah would name his whirlpool. Maybe Noah's Wild Wet Wonder Wall of Water? Anyway, he's got some facts to share. So here he is, with 5 unbelievable facts you need to know about whirlpools. Take it away, Noah!
Fact number 1. Most whirlpools in the northern hemisphere spin counterclockwise, and they spin clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Fact number 2. In rare cases, whirlpools can cause small earthquakes under the ocean floor. Fact number 3. Some fish, like trout, actually use mini whirlpools to help them swim faster. Fact number 4.
Some companies are using the energy from powerful whirlpools to create electricity. The Niagara Falls and the whirlpool created by Niagara Falls have enough energy to power about 3.8 million homes. When my family was in Niagara Falls last year, we got to see how they convert the power of the falls into electricity. We totally recommend you visit the Niagara Falls Power Station if you go to Niagara Falls. Fact number 5. Some whirlpools are so powerful that they create underwater tornadoes called vortexes.
Awesome job, Noah. Speaking of powerful whirlpools, there is a word that begins with the letter M that is used to describe really strong whirlpools. Olivia, what is that word?
A giant, powerful whirlpool is called a maelstrom. Another common word you might hear associated with whirlpools is an eddy. Ocean eddies are similar to whirlpools, and they can be found in the ocean. Ocean eddies are usually much slower than whirlpools. When ocean currents get pushed or pulled by the wind, land, or other currents, sometimes a part of the water breaks off and starts spinning into a circle. That spinning part is called an eddy. It's similar to what's happening when you stir a pot of soup and then stop suddenly. The little swirls of soup that keep spinning are like eddies.
Well, that's a wrap for this week's episode.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's podcast number 310 on whirlpools.
Great job, Olivia, and great job, Benjamin, Avery, Vinny, Cece, and Reeve, for giving us one of the best episode topic suggestions in the history of the world.
Oof, that was a rough one, Dad. Quick reminder before we wrap this episode up. The season 12 finale is just 2 weeks away. In that episode, we are going to answer questions from our listeners. We've received lots of requests to learn more about the three of us, or about how we make this podcast. If you have any specific questions for any or all of us, or you have questions about the podcast itself, you have 1 week left to send your questions in to CuriousKidPodcast@gmail.com with the subject of Season Finale Question. We can't wait to read your questions when they come in and answer them in the season finale.
Join us next week when we will get curious about cricket, not the insect, for listeners in Australia and India. As always, thank you so much for listening and getting curious with us.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.